Okay, so to start today's session, ideally, majority, if not all of you, has finished watching lecture 4. So let's see if first chance to get your attendance points for today. Um, in lecture 4, there's this experiment where we wanted to test the effect of microwave heated stove versus stove heated water in plant growth. I mean, of course, the experiment would require the water to be cooled first before it's introduced to the plants kasi malamang ang kumukulong tubig ay nakamamatay kahit sa halaman. So, in the discussion in the recorded lecture, there were 3 preliminary designs that were showed to the students who are viewing the recording. So right now, first chance to get your class participation points for today based on your recollection of the lecture, or perhaps even in your judgment. Which do you think is the best design and why? Okay, so let's start with Rix. Go ahead.
Based on my recollection po, the best design is design C po because it has proper interspersion po of treatments which leads to 3 replicates po per treatment.
Proper interspersion that created 3 replicates per treatment. Okay, for the next person I will call, I hope you can elaborate on what Rix was able to discuss. I mean, do you agree with him? Do you not agree with him? Do you think it's interspersion that caused the maximization of the number of replicates? Or do you think it's something else? Let's hear from Audric Vitangkol.
Okay, I do agree with what Rix said. So C is definitely the best because it has 3 replicates and uh, it doesn't really have any subsamples compared to A and B. A only has 1 replicate per treatment because they're all in one pot. And so per pot with 3 plants, they have 3 subsamples. With B, they aren't in a randomized order. And so there could be some bias introduced by having all the plants of this treatment on one side and all on the other side. Therefore, it's basically similar to A, in which there's only 1 treatment per replicate, or yeah, 1 replicate per treatment, and 3 subsamples per replicate. But in C, since it's randomized, um, you can say it is, yeah, properly interspersed, and therefore there are 3 replicates instead of 3 subsamples.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Um, let's see if Gian Masakayan agrees with the first 2 reciters for today.
Good morning, Miss, and good morning, everyone. I do agree with the 2 previous answers that the design C is the best design because since the plants are or the arrangement of the treatments are randomized, thus we could ensure that these plants are independent of each other. And so if there would be some sort of intrusions like pests, it would only infect one plant and not all plants will be affected. And thus, this shows that how randomization is very crucial in ensuring the both the accuracy and precision of the experiment.
Okay, thank you for that, Gian. So for the others, kindly put your hands down. Maybe there will be other opportunities in today's meeting for you to recite. Um, okay, there you go. So is C um the best design for this one? Yes, I agree with everybody that C is the best design because it is the one with the most replicates. So I would like to emphasize that the best design often prioritizes having more replicates over more subsamples in some instances. Again, it depends on your objective because of how these 2 factors influence statistical power and also the ability to generalize results. So replicates kasi and again, replicates are independent repeats of the same experimental unit for treatment, helps us expand or increase the statistical power of our experiment, because we first off increase the coverage of our inference space. And then at the same time, we get to detect variance across the inference space, not just in a small area. And so this ensures that the observed effect that we are trying to study isn't due to random noise. Okay? Whereas subsampling has a tendency to have what we call diminishing returns, because they help estimate variability in a smaller space, in a single unit, rather than in the larger inference space. So subsampling is often most useful for characterizing local variability, and it doesn't address the variability in the whole inference space. And excessive subsampling may improve the internal consistency of data from a single unit, but it does less, or at least little, for the external generalizability of results. Now, when we say generalizability, if you look at many experimental or scientific designs, what you're trying to do kasi is to infer patterns o kaya relationships that allow us to generalize across experimental units or populations. If we increase our replicates, it means we're sampling a broader range of units. And again, this captures variability across the population, across the inference space. Subsampling, on the other hand, deepens our understanding within a narrower scope. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just usually done when you want to make sure that per unit, your precision is better. So many statistical tests like ANOVA, t-test, regression analysis, they rely on variability across replicates for robust inference. So if you don't have enough replicates, the error term in your statistical models would then be poorly estimated. Now, when we say error, we don't mean mistakes, in statistics, in experimental design, when we say error, it actually refers to variability. Now, if you cannot estimate the error term, it leads to unreliable or even invalid conclusions. Now, at the end of the day, when you're designing experiments, you do not have infinite time or infinite resources. So you also have to be cost efficient. So if your time, your money, your materials are limited, investing in replicates is often more efficient than increasing subsampling. Kasi subsampling, beyond the point, can actually lead to redundancy without adding significant value to the study's objectives. Okay, so let's see if you were able to process that. There was another set of examples on lecture 4. Let's call them setup C, which is what you said, the best one in the previous slide, D, and then E. So which design is best? Again, from what you recall in lecture 4, and why do you think this design is best? Okay, so this time let's hear from Hannah Abanilla. Again, please make sure to explain your answer. Go ahead.
Good morning, Miss. So, based on what I recall, I think that design E is the best design because it also has the most number of replicates. So for design D, there's only 3 replicates per treatment, while in design E there are 9 replicates per treatment.
Okay, so for your classmate, design E is the best because it maximizes the number of replicates. Alice Fajardo, do you agree? And do you have something else to add? Why is 9 replicates better than 3? Why is subsampling not the priority here?
Yes po, I agree po with Hannah na Design E is the best since it has the most number of replicates without any subsamples po. Also, the place or the arrangement of the plots are randomized din po since um, we could deduce if the effect is actually because of the treatment itself rather than the placement of the pots. Example po, one location lang po on the face po.
Oh, okay. So E also increases the possibilities for changing the locations for the different plants, for the different pots, whereas D, with your subsamples, you're decreasing the variability for possible locations. That's an interesting perspective. Thank you for that. Last one for this item. Margarita Escobar, do you agree with your classmates? Do you have additional points that you think people should consider when it comes to this experiment?
So I agree with what the others said na letter E is the best design here because mostly it has lots of replicates, and I just want to add to the explanation na the replicates kasi having more replicates, it helps us increase the coverage of our inference space. So this means that we'll be able to detect variance more across our inference space and not just in a small area. So it will help us um have like it will help us gather kung the variability in that so that we know na what we're studying, the observed effect is not just due to random chance or random error or noise.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Margarita. So for everybody, remember that even within the same population of plants or animals, there could be genetic variability. And so by increasing the number of replicates, you are taking into consideration the variability that may have been influenced by those genetic differences by creating more replicates. Pag nag-subsample ka kasi, hindi natin guaranteed na independent yung genetic response ng each organism kasi they share a common soil, they share the common water. Whereas if you separate them into containers and then you create proper interspersion within your laboratory, you increase the chances that each of those organisms can respond independently. Okay, so thank you so much. For the others who would want to recite, kindly put down your hands. Maybe we'll have other opportunities for the rest of the period. Now, for those who have questions, before we move forward, we are now opening the floor to any questions or points of clarification that may have arisen for this part. Okay, wala pa muna. Okay. Sige, if wala pa kayong maisip, that's okay. But please note that at any point, if you have any questions or points of clarification, feel free to raise your hand. Again, we prefer it if you unmute and ask your questions. Don't type it in the chat. Questions in the chat will not be entertained. And please make sure to ask your questions before the session ends, not when we're close to the end of the session kasi baka hindi na siya ma-entertain. MC, go ahead.
Hello, Miss. Good morning po. Miss, yung experimental unit po ba, yun po ba yung makaka-help in counting our number of replicates po? Yung experimental unit po.
Yes. So you have to make sure that you identify your experimental units well. Remember in Hurlburt, in the experiment with the bag of leaves, he emphasizes that it's not the bag of leaves that's considered the experimental unit, but the area where the bag of leaves are. And I'm not sure if it was this section or the Ecogen section. During Thursday, in our face-to-face meeting, one of the proposed experiments to test the one of the factors that explain why there are no trees on Mount Pulag, one of your classmates proposed establishing 10 by 10 meter plots in Mount Pulag. And within those 10 by 10 meter plots, there would be trees. So in that case, I asked them the question, what if there are multiple trees per plot? And they answered pretty well by saying that they would first average the growth rate of all the trees within that 10 by 10 meter plot, and that would stand as the replicate. So in that experiment, it's not the trees that is the experimental unit, it would be the 10 by 10 meter plot. However, for this experiment, if you look at experiment E, each pot has one plant. So the plant and the pot in experiment E are the experimental units. But in experiment D, since there are 3 subsamples per pot, the pot is the experimental unit, but the plant is not. Okay, so I hope that's one thing you can practice, MC, identifying which is the experimental unit in the example being presented. So MC, does that help?
Yes po, Miss. Thank you po.
Okay. IC, go ahead.
Hi, Miss. I just have like question lang po about this experimental design po, which is simple segregation. Also in lecture 4 po. Kasi parang sinabi po dun na if plants on one side happen to be near a tree that is shading only one of the two treatments of the group, so of course maapektuhan po yung other plants on that shading. So what if naman po, Miss, na naka-randomize pattern po sila? Just a question or thought in mind lang po. Kasi parang the experimental design is not in a randomized pattern since nga po, simple segregation. So what if naman po, they are in the randomized pattern and there's a tree that is also shading the one of the two treatments, will they still have 3 subsamples and 1 replication per treatment? Since the shading would also affect the plants in that treatment as well?
When you say randomized pattern, did you truly randomize it using true methods of randomization or dinesign mo siya para magmukhang random?
Yung dinesign po, Miss. Ano, I mean like for example po, if naka-randomize pattern po talaga siya.
So, kung randomized siya, bakit issue yung, you mean, ni-randomize siya pero nagkataon na mukha siyang segregated?
No, no, Miss. I mean, I'm asking po kasi if, ang sabi po kasi dito that there are 3 sample size per treatment, 1 replication per treatment, and 3 subsamples per treatment. I'm asking po if naka-randomize pattern po siya, will they still have a 3 subsamples and 1 replication per treatment po?
Bakit walang true independence yung subsamples dun sa segregated design? Hello?
Hello, Miss. Can you please repeat the question po?
Bakit walang true independence yung subsamples dun sa segregated design?
Kasi parang they're all together po, Miss. Kumbaga parang nakasegregate po sila based on their property.
Okay. So, dahil nagkatabi-tabi sila, and also because ikaw yung nag-design. Kasi when you do segregation, it's a systematic approach eh. Wala kang nire-randomize, di ba? So,
Right.
dependent sila sa isa't isa. Pag ba nag-randomize ka, malaki ba yung chance na sa iisang lugar lang sila mapupunta? Pinapalaki or pinapaliit mo ba yung chance na sa iisang lugar lang mapupunta yung units pag nag-randomize ka?
Miss, tama po ba na hindi? Kasi parang in a randomized pattern nga po siya. So,
Eh,
there's a low chance po.
So, lumiliit yung chance na
Yes
mapupunta
po.
sila sa isang lugar together. So, ibig sabihin, kung merong factor na pwedeng mag-bias sa kanila, mas spread out yon. Second, pag nag-randomize ka ba, ikaw ba yung pumipili kung saan sila ilalagay or yung randomization technique?
I think it's the randomization technique.
So, marireduce yung chance na yung decision mo ay mababias yung location ng sampling mo. So, pag nag-randomize ka, dependent o independent na ba yung sample sa isa't isa?
Is it independent?
Bakit siya independent?
Kasi po, you randomized it with the technique itself na hindi nyo po din kasi sure kung saan nga po siya malalagay or low chance po yung dung sa location po na sinasabi nyo na mas liliit po siya.
Okay. So, if that's the case, ilan ang replicates mo pag nag-randomize ka? Since independent na sila sa isa't isa.
3 replicates.
Dun sa segregated design, ilan ang replicates? Ilan ang subsamples?
1 replicate po, miss.
Tapos, ilang subsamples per replicate?
3.
Tapos, dun sa randomized, magiging ilan?
If randomized po,
Dahil independent na sila sa isa't isa,
per treatment po ba, miss?
yes, per treatment.
3 replicates po.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yeah, okay po. Yes po, miss.
Okay,
Okay po. Thank you po.
sure. John, go ahead.
Ma'am, hindi po to related sa diniscuss po kanina, pero may I clarify po yung chi-square pseudo-replication.
Sige, what about it?
Kung ano po siya, because parang hindi ko po naiintindihan yung parang meaning niya sa Herto.
What about it specifically? Kasi remember when we discussed the questions that you asked, you shouldn't ask me to define things. Like, ano yung pagkakaintindi mo sa kanya at anong part yung sa tingin mo ay mahirap intindihin?
Can I ano na lang po, ma'am? Can I get an example na lang po? Because parang hindi ko po naiintindihan yung definition niya din sa Herto.
Di mo maintindihan yung definition. Based sa notes mo, ano ang chi-square test? At bakit pwedeng magkaroon ng pseudo-replication sa kanya?
Di ko po, I'm not familiar with the chi-square test.
I see. So if that's the case, anak, I think you should research what the chi-square test first is. Kasi pag nag-lecture ako tungkol sa chi-square, baka maubos yung time natin. May quiz pa kayo later. Come back to me in the next meeting pag nag-read up ka na kung ano ang chi-square test para mas maintindihan mo kung bakit pwedeng magka-pseudo replication sa kanya.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So, okay. Any other questions? Okay, so far, walang nakataas na kamay. Sige, let's move forward to the scientific method as applied to exercise 2. I believe today and tomorrow are dedicated to consultation sessions regarding your data. So we hope our session today would be useful for you so you can maximize your consultation with your lab faculty. So first off, the most important part about your exercise 2 would be your hypothesis. Remember, your hypothesis and your objectives are the first 2 things you establish in your experimental design. So, hindi po tayo nag-experiment tas babaguhin yung hypothesis at objectives, ha? I-establish muna natin yung hypothesis at objectives bago tayo mag-start ng hypothesis. So, in the laboratory, you're supposed to create scientific hypotheses. So, the difference between a scientific hypothesis and the statistical hypothesis is that in a statistical hypothesis, sorry, you're just there to test for the presence or absence of significant differences, while scientific hypotheses help provide an explanation to the phenomenon that you're observing. And the phenomenon that you are observing in the laboratory is accuracy and precision. So those are two different things. They affect each other, but again, they're measured through different parameters. Accuracy can be assessed based on the difference of the measurement to the true value. So there's a specific metric for that, like absolute error or relative error. Whereas precision talks about variability, how different each measurement is based on the average of all the measurements. So we have more options for precision. We have standard deviation, standard error, coefficient of variation, confidence intervals, and so on. Now, when it comes to the choice of measure of accuracy versus measure of precision, the measure of accuracy depends on how many true values you have. Like if you have one, a certain kind of measure of accuracy would be better because it gives you certainty as to how different your mean is to the true value. Whereas for the measure of precision, the choice depends on your number of replicates and the application of your measure of variability. Are you going to use it as simply as a descriptive metric, pang display lang, kumbaga? Or if you're going to use your measure of precision to help reflect or to help show the presence or absence of significant differences. Okay? But anyway, so let's say what we want to do is try to figure out what causes accuracy in the glasswares that you're using. So there are so many different physical characteristics of the glasswares: length, width, height, diameter, circumference, number of gradations, etc., etc. So let's say you want to investigate the diameter because you noticed that your glasswares are all circular in nature. And you think that the diameter can affect how clear the meniscus levels are. Kasi 'di ba, pag nagbabasa ka ng water or ng liquid in a measuring tool that is cylindrical, you look at the lower meniscus to see if tama yung reading mo. So the clearer the lower meniscus is, the easier it is to read. So your primary hypothesis is that the smaller the diameter, the more accurate it would be. And the explanation of this is because the smaller the diameter, the clearer the lower meniscus is. So it's easier to assess the actual volume that's measured by the glassware. Now, when you're making a scientific hypothesis, it usually creates 3 additional partners rather than just one. You have one that matches the parameter that you mentioned in your working hypothesis, smallest diameter. You retain the smallest diameter, and then its partner would be the opposite effect, the least accurate. The third would be you oppose the first characteristic, so the biggest diameter, and it would lead to the initial effect, most accurate. And then H4, the last partner, is that the opposite characteristic, the biggest diameter, is the least accurate. So we usually create these partners in a scientific hypothesis to help us in the debunking process once we have our data. Margarita, go ahead.
Miss, can I ask a question po regarding coming? So there was this part po that I got confused kasi he said na as you increase the size of your sample or repeat experiment more, the mean will tend to get closer and closer to the true mean. Similarly, as you repeat experiment more times, your standard deviation will tend to be more closely approximate to the true standard deviation. But then it also mentioned na standard deviation of experimental result will approximate to the true standard, what's this? To the population standard deviation, whether n is large or small. Like mean and standard deviation, it does not change systematically as n changes. So one statement says na as you increase the sample size, the standard deviation will tend to approximate more to the population standard deviation. But then the other statement says na it does not change systematically as n changes. So can I get the clarification po
Uh,
regarding that?
I would just like to verify, is it referring to both standard deviation or a different metric for precision?
Standard deviation and mean po. It specifically says mean and standard deviation. Like M,
No, but
SD.
the second statement doesn't say anything about the mean.
It says like mean, standard deviation does not change systematically as n changes.
The key term there is systematically na 1:1 ratio. There is what we call a threshold wherein when you start with a smaller number of replicates, it has a tendency to not be as close to the true value and the true standard deviation of the population. And when you increase it, you increase the likelihood that you'll come close to the true value, but it's not a one-to-one correspondence. So for example, kung nag-start ka ng 5, tas lilipat ka sa 6, hindi necessary that 6 is better than 5. Baka medyo malaki yung difference between the sample size before you start seeing an effect. Kasi when you use the keyword systematically, it's a linear progression, like a very straight progression of 1:1. And then I think eventually you will discuss this in the lab. One of the things that we do in order to check if we're implementing the right number of replicates is power analysis. But a simpler version of that is to check the running coefficient of variation. When you test for the running coefficient of variation, let me just annotate. The y-axis is your variation. The x-axis is the number of replicates. And usually, the variation ends up looking like this. So the smaller the number of replicates you have, the variation might appear small. Then it would go up closer to the true variation of the population, and then it would plateau. Okay? Pwede ring baliktad. Pwedeng mataas yung variation na una mong makukuha, and then over time, bababa, tas magpa-plateau. Pwede ring erratic, tapos magpa-plateau. So what this basically shows us is that your number of replication may need to go up or may need to go down until it reaches a point where the variation stabilizes, which means the variation that you're getting is probably close to the true value. So the relationship is not one-to-one, na over time, the higher the number of replicates, agad-agad okay siya. It's just that you need to determine the number of replicates that is enough to get as close to the true value as possible. So related to this experiment, for example, out of curiosity, this time pwede kayong sumagot sa chat and try to answer as quickly as possible. How many replicates were you able to do in the, I think, 1 hour and a half or 2 hour period that was left for you to do the experiment? Can everyone try to answer in the chat quickly, please? Again, how many replicates were you able to do? Okay, so right now I'm seeing a range from 4 to 6 replicates, given that you have a limited time frame, limited number of glasswares, and so on. So thank you so much, everybody. So a lot of you are probably thinking, uy, dapat taasan natin yung number of replicates para mas gumanda yung data natin. So although that is partially true, in experiments like accuracy and precision of glassware, increasing the number of replicates has a threshold, meaning it has diminishing positive results over time. Increasing the number of replicates will increase your statistical power. However, in this kind of experiment, the more replicates you do, the dami rin yung confounding factors, which includes how tired the students are, the possibility of variation in temperature fluctuations in the classroom, the patience of the experimenters kasi oh my god, 1 ml pipette na naman, paulit-ulit ko na naman siyang gagawin. So all of these things can make the subsequent replicates not necessarily representative of the true characteristic of the glassware. So the key difference between the first statement and the second statement that you mentioned, Margarita, is in systematic. So it's not as ratio and proportional as we want it to be. So does that explanation help?
Yes, Miss. I have follow-up questions lang po.
Go ahead.
So the one you're mentioning, kasi parang you said kanina na parang is also the mean included. So, Miss, clarification, does mean go the same way as the explanation for standard deviation na parang you're trying to reach the parang the plateau point or yung stabilized point?
Yes, that applies to both.
Okay, Miss. Tapos, next question. So, it says here naman na standard error and confidence interval both decrease as n gets larger. So, this means na SE and SI, systematic naman yung pag-increase or decrease nila.
Yes, because of the formula by which they do it, but only to a point. It will never go to 0. It will just go smaller as close to the true variability as there is. So usually may tendency na yung dalawang metrics na minention mo, pag mas konti ang dami ng replicates, they have a tendency to be bigger, but over time, they will get smaller and close to the true variation. Kasi there are conditions in the environment where the metrics that you're measuring are highly variable. So in those instances, it will just get smaller or closer to the true variation as it can be. Does that help?
Yes, Miss. Can I ask why is it that it is affected by replicates, but then yung standard deviation and mean are not? Like they're both metrics for precision, but then
Look at the
standard
formula.
deviation.
Look at the formula, and also look at their nature. But please note that Cummings talks about variation more than the mean. And he basically defines two different kinds of measures of variation. So it's related to that, their nature as measures of variation.
Okay, Miss, last question regarding that. So you mentioned something about having a threshold na parang like in the experiment na if you increase something dun sa glasswares, there could be more confounding variables. Is this threshold something that we can like measure or like we can know? Like, is it a preliminary thing that we should do?
Yes, look up power analysis. You can actually do that for certain kinds of statistical tests. Another kind of preliminary testing is just like literally trying to do as many replicates as you can and measure the variation over time before you start doing the actual experiment. So that's creating the running coefficient of variation.
All right, Miss. Thank you po.
Sure, you're welcome. Okay, John, go ahead.
Ma'am, I would like to clarify lang po if the scientific hypothesis needs to have four different hypotheses and the statistical only needs two.
For most of the times, yes. But for the scientific hypotheses, there are instances where it needs more. Like if you're studying two different factors, I think that would lead to 16, 8 to 16 different statements. If you're looking at 3 levels, hindi lang smallest versus biggest, if you want to factor in medium, that it would lead to 6. But if it's like just a 2 pair, smallest versus biggest, wala kang medium, it would lead to 4. But for statistical, with or without significant differences lang siya usually.
Tapos follow-up question po, sa scientific hypothesis po, wala po bang null and alternative? Yung anong pagkapangalan lang po sa kanya, hypothesis 1, 2, 3, and 4 as is shown here po sa screen.
H1 is your working, the rest are your alternative. It's just that ang confusing kasi kung puro alternative hypothesis yung tawag mo sa H2, H3, and H4 kasi tatlo yung alternative mo. But basically, the first statement should be your working hypothesis, and that's the one that's backed by explanations from your observations or related literature.
Sige po, thank you po.
Okay, you're welcome. Herschel, go ahead.
Mas clarification lang po about rejection of hypotheses. So for example po, if we say nasa experiment we got po the result, now we cannot reject po hypothesis 1, which is smallest diameter is most accurate. Can we say po na we can also not reject hypothesis 4?
Yes, it's possible for your results to not reject multiple hypotheses. And that just implies that there might be other factors that you need to study because that implies diameter might not be the only explanation, but it is one possible explanation. We'll actually get to that later. I have sample data that we'll go through. But does that help, Herschel?
Yes po, miss. Okay po. Thank you po.
Sure. John, go ahead.
If possible po, Pam, or kunyari nga, the results of an experiment, to parang hindi po siya masusupport ng any of the hypothesis po.
Yes, it's possible.
Thank you.
Kasi for example, a lot of people thought that autism is caused by vaccinations. So that's a hypothesis. So pwedeng lahat ng results nun say na hindi yung vaccine yung nagko-cause ng autism. So yun. Carlo, go ahead.
Ma'am, I just like to ask po. So just because it says na the smallest diameter is the most accurate, it does not automatically equate to the biggest diameter is the least accurate. So it could be na parang let's say, you'll reject H1 when the smallest is most accurate, pero you will
Not
accept
automatically
H4 or fail
accept
to reject.
H4. Yes, it's
Yes po.
possible. Especially if the explanation is not related to the diameter.
So it would only happen po in cases where the explanation is not related to the diameter. Would it not be possible po na parang the glassware with the biggest diameter, siya lang po yung may statistically significant na difference compared to the other glassware?
You're confusing data to an explanation. The hypothesis is the explanation. The data is the one that supports it or not. The data cannot be the explanation. So for example, the presence or absence of significant differences just implies one glassware is more or less accurate compared to the other. It doesn't explain why that glassware is more or less accurate. What explains what makes the glassware accurate or less accurate is its physical characteristic.
I see. Thank you po.
Doc Shona.
Yes, Sir Dennis.
Okay, maybe may I inject some explanation there sa tanong ni Carlo. You are applying for this particular hypothesis, you are debunking it based on evidence on your chart. And remember, the placement of your units, experimental units, are arranged in based on the size of the diameter. And you are saying that whether there is significant difference or no significant difference doesn't apply actually. It only applies to the measurements or the differences on the measurements of all the units. But to answer or to debunk the hypothesis, you cannot use that because you are trying to prove whether the biggest or the smallest diameter is the most accurate or the least accurate. So you have to look on the trends that you have on your graph. What if it is the middle? So can your p-value really be used to reject your hypothesis? No, it is actually the trend that you have and whether there is differences or no differences on the measurements of each unit when you put your error bars. So naka-arrange siya based on the characteristic of your units. So you might want to further the request for explanation on this with your faculty in charge in the lab.
Thank you
Thank you,
po,
Dr.
sir.
Lola.
Note ko lang dun sa sinasabi din ni Sir Dennis, disprove how you're trying to disprove, not prove anything. We're trying to disprove all possible explanations, not prove which is most accurate and most precise. Disprove. Thank you. Margarita, go ahead.
Yes, my question is not really related to this, but I just want to take this opportunity kasi baka maubusan yung oras later. So I have this parang scenario wherein there's a lake and then we stratify it kunwari based on north, south, east, and west. So it's
Why
stratified per
why do you have to stratify it based on north, south, east, and west? Are they physically different from each other or type mo lang?
because they're heterogeneous. So yeah, they
No, what
have
makes
parang
them
different.
heterogeneous?
For instance, kunwari, what pa? Like temperature, for example, dun sa
Okay, so
strat
magkakaiba yung
yeah,
temperature sa north, south, east, and west. Okay, sige, go
yes,
on.
yes. So it's a measurative experiment. So basically, you just want to measure yung amount of fish in the lake, right?
Mm-hmm.
So technically, there's no treatment. So my question is, for example, because you stratified it, so you want to put three samples in each direction. So tatlo sa north,
Three
south, east, and
samples
west.
or three replicates?
Three replicates in each
Strata.
stratified location.
Stratum.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
stratum, yes. So my question is, when you do the statistical analysis, do you average first per strata, or since replicates na sila lahat, you just average all of them regardless of the strata?
You can do both. If, for example, it's important for you to report the inherent characteristics of each stratum, you can average per stratum first. But if the sizes of your stratum are equal, and that justifies the equal distribution of your replicates per stratum, you can average all of your replicates to represent the entire lake.
Miss, what if it's not equal? For instance, 60% north, 20% south, 10% east, tapos 10% west. How is
Well,
that? Can you still do it
in
all at the same time?
in order
Can
for
you
you
average them?
to average the replicates directly, the proportionality of your replicates should represent that proportion. So kung kunwari 8 yung total number of replicates mo, or kunwari 10 yung total number of replicates mo, ano yung 60%?
Yung north po.
So 6 dapat nandun, etc., etc.
Okay, so in that case, you have to average first per strata.
Actually, mas magiging complicated yung computation kasi magkakaroon ng ratio and proportion din yung average per strata dun sa final. Kaya mas magandang yung dami ng replicates per strata is representative of the total space of that strata compared to the total.
Okay po. Thank you.
Okay. John, go ahead. Hello? John?
I'm here po, ma'am. I forgot to, I forgot po yung tatanong ko.
Okay.
Si Alice na
Alice.
po tuloy muna.
Okay. Alice, go ahead.
Good morning po. Ask ko lang po if there's such a thing as partially debunked. Since sa previous sessions po, parang may na-mention po na ganun, pero hindi po na-elaborate and hindi rin po clear for me as to why siya naging partially debunked po.
Yes, there is such a thing as partially debunked. And partially debunked is when, as Sir Dennis mentioned earlier, you do not just judge the debunking of your hypothesis based on the numerical values. You look at the trend. So even if, for example, the glassware with the smallest diameter ended up being most accurate, but the trend is not consistent, then it's still partially debunked.
So, bale po if...
Actually, I have examples of that later, pero kasi, yeah. Pero kung hindi natin matapos by 8:45, then I'm sorry. Pero yes, I do have examples of that later. Hopefully, we get to it.
Okay, thank you po, Miss.
John, go ahead.
In connection po sa sinabi ni Alice kanina, is it possible na partially debunk? For example, yung 10 milliliter graduated cylinder, yung pinaka-accurate and precise.
Anong sabi ko kay Alice?
Ang sinabi mo po kanina is, if I recall correctly, is yung 10, yung pipette, yung pinaka-accurate and precise, tapos may difference po sa threads.
Alice, nagbigay ba ako ng result?
Hindi po.
Anong sagot ko sa question mo?
May examples po later po.
Pero
depende rin po sa trend po.
Pero is it possible for partially debunked to happen?
Yes po.
Isa po yung itatanong ko po kanina is that if ano po ma'am, yung let's say hindi po na-prove any of the hypothesis, ang state po sa debunking is that none of the hypotheses are proven and following that, yung explanation.
Yes, if all of them are debunked. And also, you don't say that a hypothesis is proven. You only say that the hypothesis is not debunked or if it's debunked. But if all of your hypotheses are debunked, then yes, that means there is a different explanation that you have to investigate.
Sige, thank you.
Okay. So anyway, medyo nasisense ko na baka yung iba sa inyo nagtatry na. Miss, ito yung data namin. Anong ibig sabihin? Wag ganun na. Either you debunk your hypothesis or it's not debunked. Okay. So once you have your hypotheses, the next thing that you have to do is to make sure you have a ranking, because that ranking allows you to look at trends. If your hypothesis is the explanation to the phenomena, then ideally your results would follow this trend. For example, for H1, if it's the glassware that has the smallest diameter, if it's the glassware that's smallest diameter would be most accurate, then it means the 1 ml pipette would be the most accurate, followed by the 5 ml, followed by the 10 ml, followed by the 50 ml. No, kailangan strict tayo dun sa trend. Kasi kung yung 1 ml nga yung most accurate, pero yung iba, hindi sinusunod yung trend, merong confounding factor yung experiment or merong ibang explanation. So, next thing, issue of replication. You have to know whether your experimental design allows you to do proper replication, because again, replication increases your statistical power and allows you to make good, anong tawag dito? Good conclusions or good generalizations about your inference space. Given situations A, B, and C, wherein A asks you to fill an empty beaker and weigh it 3 times in a row. So pupunuin mo siya once, tas 3 beses mo siya ipapasok, tatanggalin sa weighing scale, pasok, tanggal, pasok, tanggal. B, fill an empty beaker, then weigh, tanggalin mo yung tubig, fill it again, weigh, tanggalin mo ulit, fill it and weigh, tanggal ulit. Okay? And C, fill empty beaker and then weigh 3 times in a row and do this 3 times. So which one is unreplicated? A, B, or C? Para mabilis tayo, I want to see everybody's opinion in the chat because we only have just less than 20 minutes left before the start of your quiz. Which one is unreplicated? A, B, or C? Go. So chat. Yun lang yung tanong which is unreplicated. Hindi ko tinatanong ano yung B at C. Okay, good. So far, everybody who put it in the chat says that A is unreplicated. Which one is replicated without subsamples? Ready, set, go. Which one is replicated without subsamples? Okay, B. And which one is replicated with subsamples? Okay, everybody is saying C. So good. You are now starting to see the difference between replicates and subsamples. So I believe, let me see it in the comments. Did you do an unreplicated experimental design for exercise 2, therefore you'll fail? Are replicated without subsamples or replicated with subsamples? Let me see in the chat. Which design did you use in your lab? Replicated without subsamples or replicated with subsamples? Wow, may nag-subsamples daw. Galing Sorry. Okay. So for the most part, you did replication without subsamples. That's fine. That's perfectly fine, especially if you're confident in the use of the weighing scale and also because you had limited resources. Prioritize replicates over subsampling, again, because of our discussion earlier. Now, which design is which? Let me see in the chat. Which design is completely randomized design? A, B, or C? Go. Which design is completely randomized design? A, B, or C? Okay, so far everybody is saying A. That's good. Which design is systematic? A, B, or C? Go. Okay. At this point, kung nahihirapan kayo, please catch up on Hurlbert and all of our previous discussions. The recording of our online sessions are available in the page called Synchronous Sessions Recording. Sadly, the face-to-face sessions, we cannot record that, so I hope you're paying attention. Which is randomized block design? Go. Okay. So good. Now for exercise 2, completely randomized and randomized block design are both good experimental designs, especially if you were able to maximize the number of replicates that you can do given the limited period. The only issue with randomized block design is you have to do a 2-layer statistical test. Yung completely randomized design kasi mag-statistics kayo straight up, mabilis na siya. Hindi ko i-reveal kung anong statistics, no? Pero yung randomized block design, meron kayong special na kailangan gawin sa statistics para ma-check nyo if the blocks do not have significant differences with each other. Because that's a possibility with randomized blocks na even the blocks could have differences. So you have to check first if your blocks do not have significant differences with each other to make sure that your data is comparable. So I hope you're using the right statistical test. And no, I cannot tell you which one because that is ako yung gigrade ng lab teacher nyo pag ako yung nagsabi kung anong statistical test ang gagawin nyo. So, okay. So, which designs provides adequate interspersion? Again, which design or designs provide adequate interspersion? Go. Parang blood type yung nakikita ko dun sa chat. Yes, correct. For the most part, both A and B provides good interspersion as long as you randomize the treatments and the treatments are dispersed across each other. So good. And how many true replicates do you have? John, go ahead.
Yung sa letter A po ba, ma'am, is it all the time na ano nga po na ano nga po yung kanina yung question po kanina?
Interspersion? Or which design is which?
Tanong ko po, ma'am, is it all the time na interspersed po or adequately interspersed yung A or sometimes po because may risk po yan for segregation po yung mga CRD po.
Pwede ka lang yung risk for segregation, walang risk for segregation kasi segregation dyan means ikaw yung nagde-decide kung saan mo ilalagay yung treatment. Pag may randomization ka, walang segregation. Pwedeng magka-issue yung interspersion pag nag-randomize ka. Pag kunwari, nag-randomize ka, tas biglang nagtabi-tabi yung 5 ml pipette, pangit yung interspersion nun. Pero hindi ibig sabihin end of the world na. Mag-randomize ka lang ulit. Kasi pwede naman. Hindi necessarily isang beses lang kayo mag-randomize, guys. Pwede kayong multiple times mag-randomize para makagawa kayo ng magandang interspersion. Does that answer your question, John?
Yes po, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. 8:33, 15 minutes left. So obviously, sige, palitan ko na lang yung question para mas straightforward siya. Ay, hindi. Sige, isa-isahin natin para sure. How many true replicates do I have per treatment for setup A? Lagay sa chat. How many true replicates per treatment do I have for setup A? Okay, correct. I have 3. Okay, kasi independent sila lahat kasi nag-randomize tayo. How about for setup B? How many true replicates do I have for setup B? Actually, you can't answer right now. Bakit? Kasi even though I have 3 blocks, hindi ko pa na-check kung may significant difference yung blocks sa isa't isa. Kasi if one block turns out to have a significant difference from the other, then it means something might have happened in that block, like naging careless yung students, nag-iba yung temperature, nasira yung equipment. Kasi pag may significant difference yung isang block, hindi na siya comparable sa iba. So, I need that data first to judge if I have 3 replicates, 2 replicates, or 1. So, yun yung danger sa randomized block design. I need to check for the presence or absence of significant differences across blocks. Margarita, go ahead.
Yes, when you say you want to know the significant difference between blocks, so you mean you're going to average the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5 treatments, the 5 replicates wait lang, yung 5 treatments na isang replicate dun sa isang block, you will average them.
No.
So average block
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, and then compare. So what
No,
do you mean by
there's a statistical test for it. You don't do it by manual averaging. There's a separate statistical test for it to check if the blocks are have a significant difference to each other. So for those of you who did that randomized block design, you have to find out what statistical test that is. Andrea, go ahead.
Miss, I'll just, parang, just a question on my mind po. So, if there's no significant differences among the three blocks, we can say po ba na there's only one replicate po ba, kung ganon?
You want to have no significant differences across the three blocks in order for you to have three replicates. Kailangan hindi sila magkakaiba. Kung magkakaiba sila, wala kang replication. So if you have significant differences, hala, may ginawa kayo per block na hindi sila comparable sa isa't isa.
Okay po, Miss. Thank you.
Okay. And then for the third one, C, how many true replicates do I have in the systematic design? Okay, correct. 1, kasi nga systematic, so sad. Okay. So next, and do we have subsamples? You already answered that earlier. So let's say this is your data. The volume measured per glassware for 5 trials is this. Let's say I have the following average. Let's say I want to use coefficient of variation as a measure of precision. And percent deviation, which is also relative error, basically. Sorry, maraming iba't ibang terms. As a measure of accuracy. Yan, pagtabihin natin sila ngayon sa hypothesis natin. So, kung titingnan nyo yung arrangement ng data, 50 ml beaker, pinakamalaking diameter, 10 ml graduated cylinder, siya yung susunod, 5 ml pipette, siya yung susunod, 1 ml pipette, siya yung nasa dulo. Kung ano yung arrangement ng ranking ko, yun din yung arrangement na ginawa ko sa data para mas makita ko yung trends. So again, our hypotheses are about accuracy. So ang titignan ko lang ay percent deviation. The smaller the percent deviation, if significant differences are present, again, if significant differences are present per treatment, the smaller the percent deviation, the more accurate it is. The larger the percent deviation, the less accurate it is. So if we look at H1, since konti na lang yung time, the glassware that has the smallest diameter is most accurate. Parang oo, kasi 1.9% siya. Pero bakit kaya partially debunked yung nilagay ko instead na not debunked? Can anyone hazard an explanation? Bakit siya partially debunked at hindi not debunked? Rix, go ahead.
Because since 5 ml pipette showed 4% po na percent deviation, which does not align po with the hypothesis, which makes it partially debunked.
Okay, kasi yung 5 ml pipette na supposedly ay second most accurate dapat kung titignan natin ang trend, siya yung nagmumukhang least accurate. Again, kung present ang significant differences across treatments. So, because of that, partially debunked lang siya. Kasi yung trend hindi nasunod. Okay? So, kahit pwede, parang okay yung pinakamaliit, yung pinaka-accurate, pero yung trend hindi nasunod, hindi siya not debunked. Partially debunked lang. What about H2? The glassware that has the smallest diameter is least accurate. Is this debunked? Not debunked? Partially debunked? Gian, go ahead.
Miss, it is debunked po.
Okay, why?
Since the smallest diameter po is 1 ml and it is the highest accuracy based on the percent deviation, which is 1.9%, thus we debunk the hypothesis.
Again, given that there are significant differences, ha? Pag no significant difference, ang nakita natin, ibang usapan yun. And you are correct, Gian. Good job. So kasi siya yung pinaka-accurate, obviously, debunk na to agad. Next, the glassware that has the biggest diameter is most accurate. Is this debunked, not debunked, partially debunked? Si Rix ulit, pwedeng iba naman. Wala na mag-volunteer. Si John na naman. Pwedeng iba naman, guys. Hindi ko kayo tatanta. Ayan, Jim, go ahead.
This hypothesis po is fully debunked po because the biggest diameter would be the 50 ml beaker, but then as you can see, its coefficient of variation is the largest, so that means that it is the least
Coefficient of
accurate.
variation?
Sorry, percent deviation po. The percent deviation of the 50 ml beaker is largest, therefore it is the least accurate po.
Is it the largest?
Oops, sorry. No, it's the second largest po. It's 2.1%. The largest is the 10 ml graduated cylinder.
Huh?
But
Ano yung
sorry, no, it's the
largest?
5 ml pipette po. Sorry, the 5 ml pipette po. That's the largest percent deviation.
So
But
dahil hindi siya yung largest, debunked?
or no, it's partially debunked po. Sorry.
It's partially debunked because it's not the smallest.
Because it's not the smallest.
Okay. Well, actually, you can already say it's fully debunked kasi again, it's not the smallest. Last hypothesis, and 3 minutes before the start of your quiz. The glassware that has the biggest diameter is least accurate. Debunked, not debunked, partially debunked. Sagutin niyo na, guys. Para matapos na tayo. Alam ko nagpapanik na kayo dahil sa quiz. Sige na nga, Rix. Ikaw na, go.
Fully debunked po because di naman po siya yung may highest percent deviation ng 50 mLB.
Okay, kasi hindi siya yung may highest na percent deviation. Well, yeah, actually debunked yan. Hindi partially debunked. So, in this case, ayusin ko nga ito. Na-OC ako. Anyway. So, in this case, you have 3 hypotheses that are fully debunked and 1 that is partially debunked. Yung smallest diameter, it ended up being very accurate, pero for some reason, the trend is not following. Results pa lang yun, guys. The next thing that you have to do is to incorporate your discussion. So you have to discuss the implications of your results, identify your limitations, propose future research. Again, proposing future research can be part of the discussion, and avoid hand waving. So I'll stop the discussion here because the quiz will open in 1 minute. I don't know if we have enough time to answer questions kasi baka malate kayo. Make sure you have good internet connection. You're accessing Canvas right now because the quiz will start in less than 1 minute. I will not close the Zoom room. If you have questions about the quiz, don't hesitate to ask. But to reduce the bandwidth demands, you can also exit the Zoom room to take the quiz. MC, go ahead.
Miss, may problem po ako regarding sa quiz po. Kasi po, di po ako makatake ng quiz kasi nag-auto-drop po lahat ng mga courses ko. So, wala pong tab ng Ecolab sa Canvas ko po right now. Pero
I see.
pupuntahan ko pa po sa ITS today, within this day po.
Okay, please write us a letter with subsequent documentation to indicate the auto-dropping situation para ma-excuse ka. Hindi kailangan today mabigay yung letter, pero kailangan may full documentation yung letter na official talagang na auto-drop ka. So, kung pwedeng ma-co-sign or ma-endorse ng ITS or ng registrar na na-auto-drop ka, that would be useful.
Thank you po.
Okay. Again, if you have issues with internet speed, you can leave the Zoom room. You don't have to stay here. But just in case you might have questions about the quiz, I will keep the Zoom room open until 9. By the way, if you finish the quiz, then you can also leave the Zoom room. No need to stay here until 9.
Ma'am,
Yes, go ahead.
yung sa mga questions po, requiring a number, do I have to write the number itself or do I have to write the number in words po?
The number itself.
Ma'am, I would also like to ask about a question po.
Go ahead.
Yung sa question po na the following was done in an experiment in which parang natural light in classrooms affects the performance po.
Mm.
5 of the classrooms po ba talaga to or typo po to na 4 of the classrooms had windows with ample natural light?
Let me just check. Per room. Dalawa kasi yung questions yata na ganyan. Or isa lang. Wait.
Yung sa
Nag-iiba kasi yung number, sorry.
200 students were randomly divided into 8 groups of 20 students each.
$200 students?
Opo, were randomly divided into 8 groups of 20 students each. And then sinabi po dito, 5 of the classrooms had ample natural light while 5 had no windows.
Ang typo dyan yung 8. Kasi has to be 10 groups of 20 students each. Kasi 200 yung students.
Sige po, thank you.
Mm-mm. Okay, I'll be closing the Zoom room in 1 minute. Jim, go ahead.
Sorry, question po, but this is a private concern regarding my answers. Na parang there's something wrong with the grading po.
Can you set a private consultation instead of doing it now? Because I have a class in about 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay po. Maybe I'll just, can I send it to you po email with screenshot?
Yes.
Okay, thank you po.
Okay. Everyone, I'll be closing the Zoom room now.